Hi guys, how are you? We have a nice book here, a nice children's book to read, The Kind of Blue, by Grifalconi, about a little girl that's feeling a little bit sorry for herself, and the uncle comes and cheers her up. Let's see let's go right into the story now. Kind of Blue, by Grifalconi. One day down in Georgia, where the sweet corn grows so slow, I had me a fit of lonely. I was feeling kind of blue. We'll start the story now. Yes, one day down in Georgia, feeling kind of low, had an awful fit of lonely, and I didn't know what to do. There I was, sitting all by myself, scrooched down in the front yard of our Georgia farm, poking holes in the dirt for no good reason. Me and my bent-over shadow, blue. Now, it didn't matter to me that Mama and Grandpa was up to the house, and it didn't matter that I was just short of 7. It didn't matter to me. I was seized by that fit of lonely, and I didn't care who knew. I guess it all got started 'cause I got to missing my papa. He had died back when I was a baby girl. It didn't seem fair. Other kids got papas, I sniffed. I was feeling awful sorry for myself. I looked around, all grumpy-like. Nobody ever be there when you need 'em. Brother, sister, always playing somewhere else. Mama, Grandma, always busy. Grandpa always sitting on his porch. Uncle Dan always in his old cornfields. Here's Uncle Dan. "What you doing over there, sissy, honey?" This here cheerful voice called out, "Scratching in ground like old wet hen." I knowed it was just Uncle Dan, so I kept on digging, mumbling, "I'm going to dig me a hole so deep." "What's that you say?" Uncle said, coming closer. I said it louder. I said, "I'm going to dig me a hole so deep I can climb right in and hide." Of course, it came out real grumpy-like, and Uncle was having none of that. So he bent his big tall frame and scooped me right up. He knowed I loved to be carried high, up on his shoulders, so high. "How about taking a ride with me, sissy? I'm going to visit my corn children." I shook my head, my mouth tight shut, still holding on to my grumpy. "Cat got your tongue?" Uncle smiled, catching on. But he kept walking, holding me steady with his strong right arm. He went right across the road to his fields of corn, growing straight and shy and bright, 'neath the shade of old Sadie Mountain. "See them fling their leafy arms," Uncle said. "They waving hello." The tall corn sticks did look like rows of dancers, silky white heads tossing in the sunlight. And Uncle Dan commenced to wave right back at them. Looked so silly, made me giggle. Then Uncle played right back to me. "Don't laugh, they talks to me." "Oh, Uncle, hush, no such thing. Just corn sticks rustling in the breeze." Uncle laughed. "Cats don't got your tongue no more." Nice picture here, see? Then he pointed proudly back to his corn children. I raised them from seed, I did. Watched over them. Why, I bet I knows every one of them. Every one? Oh, Uncle, that couldn't be. They all exactly the same. Uncle Dan slid a sly look at me. "So you think they all be the same? Let's play us a game and find out." setting me down on the old fence rail that snaked around his field, Uncle Dan, in one long swinging stride, reached one of the tall corn stalks, pulled off an ear of corn, and handed it back to me, still wrapped in its green husk, saying, "Peel it open," which be what I did, till the little rows of golden corn shone free. "What you see?" Uncle Dan said. I pointed. "Corn, yellow corn. That's what I knowed I would see." Uncle put his hands upon his hips. "Now, sissy, about the rest. Think that all the corn in this field be just about the same?" Uncle put his hands upon his hips. "Now, sissy, about the rest. Think that all the corn in this field be just about the same?" "Well, Uncle," I said, cheerful like, "let's stick to the ears of corn." Uncle nodded. He saw I was sharp. I took my time. Maybe not all the ears be the same size or just as ripe, but one thing for sure, they all be yellow. I knowed what color corn was. I ate it all the time. Uncle Dan bared his teeth in a foxy grin. "That's so," he said. Then he pointed. "Now see that pretty one over there? Just go on over and pick yourself one sweet little corn ear, sissy." And he lifted me down to the ground. "Hurry on now." But 'cause I was still kind of blue around the edges, I didn't hurry. Not me. I walked over lazy-like to pull one off. Real easy, to show that I was cool. But with my hands half the size of Uncle's, it was tough to break one from the stalk. But I got me an ear and held it high to show it off. Uncle told me, "Open it." And then he said, "Look again." And then I saw something very strange. Some of the kernels was red, and some blue. I still had my mouth open when Uncle said, "Now you think they all be the same?" I shook my head. "Not me, Uncle." Uncle Dan smiled. "See now? Everyone's different. Just the way we be." I asked. I shook my head. "Not me, Uncle." Uncle Dan smiled. "See now? Everyone's different. Just the way we be?" I asked. Uncle nodded and took me by the hand. "Let's take a little get-acquainted walk." We walked between the gangly corn stalks, their leafy arms patting us friendly-like, as if to say hello. Made me feel a little better somehow. "Uncle," I said then, "do plants feel? Could they feel sad, the way we does?" "Kind of blue?" Uncle smiled and squeezed my hand. "Why, sure, sissy, sure they does." "How you tell?" I joked. "They talk to you." "They talk to you?" Uncle laughed. "Well, they shows me. They really does. They gives me signs." He pointed to a nearby stalk. "See? This one be drooping. You touch a leaf, gone be limp, sure." Now I laughed. Didn't he know? It just needs water. "Uncle, can't you see?" Uncle laughed and touched the top of my head. "You're right, but now ain't that just like us? Sometimes we needs watering too. We needs somebody to pay attention to us, water us when we be sad." He crouched down to look at me. "Now, if you knows someone really well and you looks very close, you can always tell if they be happy or sad. So even when you thinks nobody cares, even when you wishes you had your own papa to watch over you and take care of you." I looked up at him. How did he know? He shook his head. "Never you mind. We be there, taking care." "For why? Why would you care?" I asked. "'Cause we love you for always, no matter what. We all be family here. I reached up and hugged him tight. And that's when I let go some big tears I had bottled up inside me. And that bottle was tilting and pouring out all my bad feelings till I felt good all over. Then Uncle Dan hugged me back and carried me all the way home, and I knew there was no way I would ever feel as blue or as lonely again. That's the end of that story, that beautiful story. Let's read something about it. Time to Blue by Grifalconi. Yes, one day down in Georgia, feeling kind of low, had an awful fit of lonely, and I didn't know what to do. Full of the blues, young Sissy is moping around the farm, all grumpy-like, convinced nobody realizes how she feels. But Uncle Dan comes along and carrying her on his shoulder into his cornfields, playfully shows Sissy that nothing is the way you think it is. Step by step, Sissy discovers that maybe she was wrong, that maybe there are ways people, like plants, show how they feel, and that those feelings don't go unnoticed. Why would you care, Sissy asks her uncle, and so discovers the loving answer that finally turns her doubts around. This warm and gently humorous story is told in the language and rhythms of the rural South, which is richly portrayed in pastel and watercolor illustrations. Grifalconi is the talented author and illustrator of the Caldecott Honor books, The Village of Round and Square Houses, as well as Darkness and the Butterfly, and Osa's Pride, 3 books that tell of African village life and culture. Her interest in bringing cross-cultural experiences to children is reflected in the more than 50 books she has illustrated, including The Jazzman, a Newbery Honor book written by her mother, Mary Wake. About her books, Grifalconi writes, "The audience, the reader I address in my mind's eye is the child who is beginning to feel, the child who is beginning to wonder, the child who is just beginning to deal with the world. I think that's the moment I find quite wonderful." Ms. Grifalconi lives and works in New York City. And there we have it, Kinda Blue by Grifalconi. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll hope to see you next time.